There it is. Okay. Is my mic on? Are we good? Okay. Hey y'all, today I'm going to try my hair pinned back. We're gonna do a get ready with me, and we're also gonna have kind of a first installment of the Sleazy Book Club. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna talk about that podcast. Oh my gosh, you guys. Now, don't feel like you're out of the loop. This was a 6-episode podcast. It's very like interesting and kind of like scandalous and very like makes you think. And that's why I really want to talk about it, because I mentioned it in my favorites last month. And I'm also gonna be using all the things that I got from the Sephora sale as well. I don't feel like my hair looks super great, but whatever. Just getting ready. But I'll link to everything that I'm using below, so I don't have to like, you know, get super involved. And I have a new mirror too. We'll talk about that in my next video. So do not feel like, oh great, is this gonna be like a left out thing? Like, no, this is gonna be like a really good, like if you like story time videos or you like something juicy, like I'll take you from beginning to end. You'll be like, what? This will be so interesting, I hope. So basically in my favorites video, my last favorites video, I told you guys about this podcast that I had gotten a little bit obsessed with over the month of October. It really made me think, and I feel like it was something that was kind of a buzzed about thing. I heard about it on Heather McDonald's podcast, which I really like. I took away some like interesting things from it. I wanted to kind of talk about some things that were like a little mysterious or a little like weird about it that I caught. Not really. I mean, some of it was just like obvious, but I just wanted to talk about it. I told you guys if you wanted to listen to it, listen to it. If not, then, and you just want like a good story, then I'll tell it here and we'll talk about it. So you're not gonna be out of the loop if you didn't listen to it for sure. So I'm gonna like summarize it. So basically the podcast is put out by the LA Times. There's a narrator that's kind of like, I want to say like a reporter, but he's kind of like a journalist. I don't know who he is, but he's some guy from the LA Times and he's talking about this story. Like I said, I'm gonna link to everything that I use below. So he's talking about this story, and it's kind of like obvious that it's going to be a story about a guy that's conning a woman. You know, I mean, we've all heard these stories where someone meets on social media or on a dating website, and this man tries to take a wealthy woman for her money. You know, this woman is in her 50s. Her name's Deborah. This is all a true story. It happened in Orange County, I believe, in 2014. So the incident, though, at the beginning, which there's an attorney, and he's being recorded basically talking about the stab wounds on a body, and then he just keeps going and going and going, and at the end he's like, and the fatal wound was like to the eyeball, and you're like, holy crap, you know. And then he says like the young woman, you know, fought like hell. That's apparent, whatever. So you're thinking like, okay, this is a woman, you know. Then it kind of goes back to 2014. That happened in 2016. Then it goes back and it's talking about this woman named Deborah. She's in her 50s. She's got 4 grown kids. She's been married, I think like 4 times or something. And she was just like looking for a companion. Like she just wanted someone to travel with. Am I super bright? I feel like I kind of am. I don't know. Anyway, so she wanted someone to travel with, blah, blah, blah. So she met this guy. All these red flags right off the bat. I mean, which, I don't know, and like during the podcast, like she's being interviewed, like she'll be talking, her mom comes on there, like her daughters, will get into all that, but like she's talking and I'm trying to put this together, because whenever she's talking about him, she's like, oh, he was, you know, just so handsome, and oh, like they're talking about this guy, and I'm thinking, if something really bad happened, like, would you be able to talk about someone like that? I don't know. So anyways, but you don't know, like I said, and we'll talk about that at the end too, like how they spun it or whatever. But so she's talking about him and she's like, he had just really, you know, bad clothes and all this. She was talking about like how, you know, he was like he looked sloppy. He said he was a doctor, but it's like all these things that you could have easily looked into. So anyways, the daughters don't like him. He came over to their house one time, and the daughter Jacqueline, which whenever you hear her talk, it's like you go from these women that are like, oh, John was great, and then she's like, this guy was a scumbag. I put a tracker on his car to save my mom, like all this stuff. So this girl was like no nonsense, like was really like trying to look out for her mom. So the daughters are trying to tell their mom, you know, we don't like this guy, there's something off about him. It's just the classic, like, you know, and scumbag guys like, oh, your kids are just, you know, jealous, they just want you to die, they want to get your money, and they think I'm gonna take your money, and that's all they care about, and blah, blah, blah. And so basically the guy like turns Deborah against her kids. She's this interior designer, and then at the beginning it's like she's talking about her interior design stuff, and the guy's trying to make it seem like she's like, oh, you just make things appear perfect. And I think that's kind of like the theme, like these women, her and her mom, which I'll get into later, like it was kind of just like, I don't know, like don't talk about problems, like just make everything happy. Like even after all this, it was just shocking that they weren't more like, okay, whatever. So, because this whole theme of this guy being a con artist, you know, isn't even the main theme of the story that I was the most shocked with, okay? So, I'm using this Sweetie Pie bronzer. Okay, so, where was I? So then it starts interviewing the grandma, and the grandma's like, I keep calling her the grandma, it's Deborah's mom, she's probably like in her 70s or something, and she's like, oh, I loved him, I loved John, and I loved this, and da-da-da-da-da, you know, he was just great, and I just was so happy for her, and she was like, I came over one Thanksgiving, and Tara, who's the youngest daughter, very soft-spoken, they were like, you know, Jacqueline was kind of the daughter that was like, you know, I'm not gonna take any crap from this guy, and I'm gonna, you know, find out about him, and Tara was like really soft-spoken and sweet, whatever. She was like crying at Thanksgiving, and the first thing that I thought, okay, this is weird, but this grandma, she was like, you know, I just didn't understand. I use this to blend. I just didn't understand. Like, she was ruining Thanksgiving. And I'm thinking, she's crying because her mom's with a psychopath that none of you guys are listening to her about. It was just so mind-blowing to me that these people, whatever. It was like it was a bigger deal that the daughter was like ruining Thanksgiving. I'm using my lip scrub. Then like, you know what I mean? It's like, who cares about what you're actually talking about? You're ruining Thanksgiving. You know, it's just weird. And no, this is the thing. Like, this is a podcast. This is what they want you to hear. You know what I mean? Like, I'm truly commenting on exactly on the podcast, on this story. And it is a true story. Like, it did happen. But you just never know how, like, certain people, barely used any, so I don't even need to hardly wipe it off, will, like, spin the story. I mean, you don't know. I mean, is that how they really are in real life? Were they telling them, oh, speak about the fond times when you really loved him? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I'm just commenting on the podcast and on what these people sounded like. Okay, so, like, basically, then they found this warehouse that he had. There were, like, weapons, I think, and was there, like, zip ties and like all these things. If they find out that he's not a real doctor, shocker. The woman they end up getting married in secret. They find out that the red flags just continue. And it's like, I just don't understand. They find out that he's not a real doctor. I think the daughter finds that out. But I'm like, the woman could have found that out, Deborah. And they always, like, she said something one time. She was like, yeah, you know, he never brought home a paycheck. I just never noticed. And I'm thinking, like, it was just so weird to me. So I don't know. I just feel like, ladies, I don't want to say be smarter, but I want to say be smarter. Like, are you joking me? So, yeah, if you're like, I don't know if he's a doctor or not. Okay, well, you can look that up. And so anyways, someone finally looked it up and figured out that he wasn't a doctor. He had like a nursing certificate and he was, I believe, an anesthesiologist. So why not just say, hey, I'm an anesthesiologist, talk about that. But he never did. He was just like, it was just very weird. I don't know. He wasn't even practicing. He was just pretending to go to work every day. All this stuff comes out. Well, then the story kind of thickens. The biggest, weirdest part of the whole story is about Deborah's sister. And this is what like resonated the most with me. This is like where it kind of gets a little, because like I said, it's a horrible story when a man like does something like that to a woman. You're being lied to, whatever. But the most shocking thing in the story, it said, okay, well, about halfway through the series, I believe it was like I said, there's only 6 episodes. So it wraps up, and I'll tell you guys what happened. Like, we'll get through this, but because it's very like quick after this. So basically, in the 80s, like I believe it was like in 1984 or something, Deborah had an older sister named Cindy, and she was married. They had one son who I believe was like 10 at the time, and she had called her mom, Evelyn, the woman that I was saying was like, oh, I love John and he's great. And the woman that kind of was like mad at Thanksgiving because she was like, not mad, but when she was interviewed about it, she was like, I just didn't understand why she was ruining Thanksgiving. It was just like, like it wasn't about why she was crying. It was about like how this was looking. Do you know what I mean? I think that's kind of like a big theme with these people. Okay. So yeah, her sister in the 80s had tried to talk to the grandma. She called her and said, hey, I'm getting a divorce. I'm leaving my husband because he's just very controlling. There's a lot that you don't know. And I just really want to meet with you and tell you everything that's been going on. And so the grandma, when she was talking about this, was like, oh, I couldn't believe it. They were getting a divorce. It was like, she was more shocked at the divorce than like, oh my gosh, like my daughter's being mistreated. You know what I mean? Like not a divorce in the family. That's how that's basically like how she was talking about it. And so she was like, I was disappointed. I loved her husband. I think his name was like Billy. I loved him. The way they portrayed these women in the podcast, or the way they were in the podcast, they just loved men. Like they just loved these men, and it was just weird. So the poor daughter never showed up. The husband had shot her in the back of the head and killed her because she was going to leave him. And come to find out, 2 weeks before that, or not 2 weeks, but just they said at some point before that, a few weeks before that, he had taken a gun from his friend. It wasn't like their gun or, a weapon from the house that he had grabbed. He had planned this. I think he knew she was going to leave him, and he thought, if she does, I'm going to do this. I'm going to kill her. It's terrible. So he had taken this gun from a friend, so it was kind of premeditated. Yeah, very premeditated. If you're like, the friend came out later and said, yeah, his gun, had been taken or whatever, and I don't think he knew about it at the time. I know I'm working on my eyebrows a really long time. You know what? When I'm like talking about something and I'm not really like focusing on my makeup and I'm not really talking about the makeup at all, Lord knows what this is gonna look like. I know I haven't used anything like super new yet, but we will. That was the foundation that I had repurchased and my eyebrow thing that I had repurchased. I've really been liking how my eyebrows are looking lately, although I wonder if it's gonna look as good today. I don't know, I might fix them in a minute. I might fix them a little more. So then they had the district attorney from that time, or not the defense attorney. Did I say district attorney? Whatever it was. The defense attorney for this case was speaking, and he said he had never seen anything like this at the time because the grandma testified on behalf of the guy that killed her son. She literally said something to the effect that, they said this in the podcast, that she had sort of said that maybe he had been mistreated by her. I don't know, it was just very bizarre. It didn't make any sense to me. It was just very strange. It was like she was excusing this behavior, this horrible, horrible act. And I don't think that at any point in a trial did she say, she called me and said she was being controlled and that she was trying to leave him. The guy spent less than 3 years in jail and was like out by Christmas, like a few years later. I mean, it was crazy. And then they said they saw him at like family functions. He was at Little League games. And I'm thinking, it's just too much for me to handle. So then at that point I had all these like red flags when I'm listening to the story about these women. Like, why are they sounding so positive about this guy? And then they tell this story and it all kind of comes together. I'm like, this is a pattern. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's like, I don't know these people. I'm just saying this is a podcast that they put out that they definitely made look this way. So I'm thinking that was, some kind of a crazy pattern that these people have. This was Blossom Caviar Stick by Laura Mercier. It was just so strange. So then his son, or their son, Cindy, and the guy that had killed her, he was kind of raised a little bit by the grandma, or a lot by the grandma and by Deborah. And so he was very close to his aunt. So he was very outspoken to John. Like, he did not like them. They got in these huge fights. John was threatening to him. John even threatened Jacqueline, Deborah's daughter, and said like, oh, I'll take her out from 100 yards, whatever. I'll take her out and stuff. And it was like Deborah just laughed it off. And I'm thinking, what? And he took it very seriously. He was like, I don't like that. So they were kind of scared of the guy, whatever. Finally, they put a tracker on his car. He was not, surprise, going to hospitals or anything. So they finally just, convinced the mom to leave him. So she left him. And she ended up trying to get a restraining order against him, but then at the last minute went to visit him or something. And the lawyer was like, "Are you stupid? Like, now you can't get a restraining order because you've seen the guy and you're obviously not afraid for your life because you went to visit him." So it was just all these things that just kept happening. The lighting is very harsh in here today, so I'm like seeing all these things. I don't even know. It was just very strange. So whatever. So I'm using this treasure, this buried treasure, which I really like. Let me just quickly, before we continue with our true crime story, I think I'm going to return this. I tried it a little bit more. The colors are beautiful, and they've got so many cool colors that you can choose from, like different colorways. It's $45. I feel at the same time you could get something that's a little better quality, but just playing with these eyeshadows, you might say, oh, it swatches great. I hate that when people swatch something and they're like, oh, it's so great. But then, like I said, when I put it on my hand, it just dusts away, and I found it to be the case. I used it a little bit on my eyes, and I found that to be kind of the same way. As they blended, they just kind of blended away. So I think I'm going to have to, I'm just being totally honest with you guys, I just don't think I'm going to be able to get behind that. So here's what I'm going to do. I don't know if it's going to be too dark, but I want to use this Queen Tiffany color. I think it's really pretty. Or should I use that in my crease? I don't know. Okay, let me use, I'll just use this. I'm going to use this Nude Beach color. That's another color, too, that I used to have. I love these eyeshadows. They're just so good. So, where were we? Oh my gosh, you guys, that is so pretty. Bare Minerals eyeshadows are my favorite. Some of my favorites, these that are pressed. So like with the grandma, it was like the divorce was more shocking than the fact that her daughter was being mistreated. And it was very interesting too, because this, I'll talk about a little more in a minute, but at one point Deborah was like, that's why I don't have any guns. That's why I'm very anti-gun, you know, because of what happened to her sister. But at the same time, she got married 4 more times. She was not careful with men. I'm thinking, how about let's be wary of guns and men that you don't know much about that could kill you. I can't even. Okay, so I said I was gonna use that Queen Tiffany color, and I didn't even. I'm gonna use that in a minute. I'm gonna use this wheat color. Oh, these are so pretty, you guys. I'm gonna use this. So story's just rolling right along, and if I leave anything out, you guys, or I don't get something exactly right, just bear with me. I listened to it once, and it was like mid-October, and so I'm just trying to remember. But like I said, I thought about this so much. It's just something that I can't stop thinking about. Like, when, like, I'm telling everybody about it, like, so I just could not wait to talk to you guys about it, or to kind of recap it, or just to, like, start a conversation about it, because it was just so fascinating. Okay, now keep in mind, there's still, like, the stabbing thing that we're gonna get to. It was, like, Jacqueline and that Chad guy, Shad was the was Cindy's son, and the one that, you know, was kind of raised by his aunt and grandma. He was like, they were the only ones that sounded outraged through the whole thing. Now, they didn't talk to her older daughter, or I believe her older son, much. And so the whole time I'm thinking they've got to be one of the, like, maybe that older daughter, or the daughter that didn't ever get interviewed as the one that was killed. But they were interviewing Tara. They went on this weird tangent about The Walking Dead, which comes into play later. I was like, what is this? Tara, the youngest daughter, the one that was crying at Thanksgiving, that was very, like, soft-spoken. I'm looking for a certain brush if I seem like I'm, like, she was very obsessed with The Walking Dead, and she was like, you know, I studied it and all this stuff. It was just very odd, and that comes into play later, okay? I'm gonna use this Queen Tiffany color. You guys, this palette, these are my perfect, most favorite eyeshadow types of colors. Yeah, so you're kind of like getting a better picture of this family. The woman leaves him. She doesn't get her restraining order or whatever. Well then, so, like, you think, you know, like I said, you think she'd be more wary of men. Like, a lot of times, I mean, people do exhibit, like, they get caught up into, like, patterns or whatever of, like, the same type of relationships. But when you do have a situation, like, where, you know, like, her sister was killed by a controlling man, or a jealous man, or something like that, you know, that would make you a little more cautious about these things. And it just was weird to me that that never really came up. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was like, if anything, it was like her and her mom, Evelyn, the grandma, were like, just very kind of, not nonchalant, but it, you know, and they kept saying, oh, they're Christians, they forgive, and that was, the grandma even said that, like, I forgave him instantly when he killed her. I just wiped this on my brows. And that was so bizarre to me. As a Christian, like, as somebody, let me just get into this, okay? Because maybe I shouldn't, but whatever, I'm going to. When people talk about forgiveness, it's bizarre how many people, I'm not an expert, but I'm saying, I think I get what it is. And it's like, it doesn't mean that someone can shoot your kid and you can say, oh, yeah, I forgive you. Let's have Christmas together. Like, no, forgiveness is not about what the person did. It doesn't take any blame off of them. It doesn't make what they did less on them. It just makes you, it's just you forgiving. You're forgiving the situation. You're getting it off of you so that you don't continue life and carry this resentment, carry this hatred, so that you're trying to get back at this person, so that you don't become someone like that. Like, that's what it is. It's not about like, I forgive you, let me help you get out of this situation, like, let me spend Christmas together. It was just odd to me. So when they were talking about that, that made no sense to me, because what they were saying about forgiveness, it was just very odd, you know what I mean? Like, live your life, like, be a positive person, and maybe that's what they're doing, but at the same time, like, it was almost like by saying I forgave him, she was taking the fault off of him in some way, which was very odd to me. I don't get it. And you have to like let go of things, you have to live your life, but at the same time, don't like testify against or testify on his behalf, like to try to get him. It was just very strange. So let me just wrap this up. So then one night they were coming home. Do you guys see how pretty this is though? That is a really good color. What am my nose doing? It's just very shadowy and strange in here today. So, so just bear with me. I'm gonna go ahead and do my lips. I didn't even cover that up. I didn't do my concealer thing I was telling you guys about. Sometimes what I do, really all the time what I do, is I take this Even Better foundation, because I use the acne solutions, but I take the Even Better and I put it like where I need it. Especially like on little marks. Like that was where I had that breakout and it's gone, but the little darkness is there. So we're nearing the end, which something else, I mean, obviously the big crazy thing happens at the end, but I want to tell you guys something even weirder, creepy. I'm gonna use this new, should I use these lashes? I think I'm gonna use my new lashes too. I'm gonna use this new eyeliner, my Pretty Easy. At the end, here's what happens. So they're separated. They're not divorced yet, John and the woman. Oh, there was also something that happened. There was an episode midway through, I think, where it was talking about his past, and he had had a relationship with another woman. He had been married, I believe, like in the early 90s. And this woman, I mean, he was scary. There were all these threats, you know, just threatening, just things that he was doing. But he was just scary about it. He would say like about his mob connections and how he was gonna like hurt the people that she loved. He was just disgusting. And turns out she was, I believe, an anesthesiologist, and that's how she kind of got him into that. He had just no friends really. Nobody really from his life that knew him, or that, it was just very strange. Yeah, at one point in the story before they separated, there was this like random woman like sitting in their house like drinking Ovaltine, and he was like, oh, we gotta put cameras up now. And I'm thinking like, did you tell her to come there so that you could have an excuse to put cameras up to like watch Deborah? I don't know, it was just very weird. And he was just like very aggressive with that woman when she was there. It was just odd. What else was there? He was just cocky and gross and just weird. Like threatened Shads, because he's just weirdo. Okay, so anyways, they're separated, whatever. This is after the failed restraining order. The daughter, Jacqueline, sees him at her house outside. I think she had like an Uber. What was it? She wasn't in her normal car. I remember her telling the driver like to follow him or something. So she pulls up outside of her complex, and I can't talk and do lip liner at the same time. She sees him in a car, like in the reflection of his cell phone. She sees his face. And then he realizes that she sees him. He realizes that they're following her. And then he heads in the direction of Tara's apartment, the other daughter, you know. So Jacqueline calls Tara and is like, hey, you know, John is here. I think that he's heading your direction. Just please be on the lookout. So she goes to work. I think later, was it the next day? I don't know. Jacqueline had said he was in like, I forgot the exact model of car, but she got it wrong. She said he was like in a Corolla or something, and it was like actually a Focus or something. I don't know. Something like that. Or no, it was a Dodge Dart, and it was actually Focus or Corolla. I don't know. It was one of those things. So Tara was looking out for it. She went to work one day. She worked at a pet store, like vet place, like boarding place. I don't know. And she didn't always wear her big work boots, but she wore them that day because she was like hosing out the kennels. And as she went to the parking lot, she had her dog, and John was in the back of this other car that she wasn't looking out for because it was the wrong model, you know, like because they had gotten confused. And he got behind her and just started like going at her. He was like stabbing her. So he had this trunk full of knives, zip ties, bags, like all this crap, right? And I think he was doing this thing like, okay, well, I'm gonna hurt your daughter, you know, because Deborah left him, and he's nuts and crazy, sick. And then Tara starts fighting back. Tara starts fighting back at him and somehow gets on her back and starts like backpedaling like with her legs, and she had on those big boots, and she kicked the knife out of his hands, and the knife like landed in her hand and she like got him. So that's what happened. So then they went to the hospital. Tara, obviously, she survived and was okay. She talked about it a little after that, and it was just very odd. She was like talking about like zombie kills, and that was just weird to me, like talking about The Walking Dead and all this. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. It was just weird. But you know, and she kind of has like a funny, like little soft spoken voice and real cute. But they kind of made her sound stupid at the end. I felt like I said, it's a story like put out by the LA Times. It's a true story, but at the end of the day, like they make these people sound exactly like what they want them to sound like. So were the women naive? I mean, I feel like the story that happened with the grandma about the son-in-law that she got off, I mean, that is a real thing that happened. All this stuff with John really happened. But when I talk about like the women sounding like certain ways, I mean, yeah. But, you know, were they maybe making them sound more like that? I don't know. So then John, they take him to the hospital and he's on life support. And Deborah, since they're married, she's gonna be the one to take him off life support. This man like tried to brutally like murder her daughter. Her daughter is in bad shape. And they're telling her to take him off life support. Like, you know, like he's brain dead. This is what you need to do. She doesn't agree to take him off life support. His sister, John's sister, has to come and do it. So that was another story too. They felt his sister told a story earlier that said like he had come to the hospital, and when John's father was in the hospital, he like gave him a lethal dose of something to like kill off his father. It's just all very bizarre. Like the whole story, it's nuts. So I'm gonna do those false lashes, and this liner is like new and it's like perfect, but it's kind of wet, so I feel like I did it like even bigger than normal. This is the best eyeliner. You can do like the thinnest hair thin line, or you can like do something a little crazier. Normally I have not been doing a big wing at all because I just do like a little bit of eyeliner. So first I'm really like winged out my eyeliner, and I don't feel like it's even at all, but whatever. So yeah, I felt bad for Tara. I felt like obviously like going through something like that is completely traumatizing. Poor girl. And then I felt like even when she said she called her mom and was like, I've killed her husband, it was almost like she was apologetic. Like it wasn't like, look what this dude tried to do to me. You know what I mean? It was just very odd. I was more fascinated in the way those women talked and the way you heard them talking about these situations and stuff. It was almost like there was an underlying, like, I don't know, it was just very weird. And then, so, one of the weirdest parts, at the very end, I mean, it's not the weirdest part, but, you know, it's kind of, the end, the guy, you know, the narrator is showing, the podcast ends with him showing Deborah, you know, like they're looking at a video of the wedding, because this whole time they've been talking about this guy who basically conned her, tried to brutally murder her daughter, all this stuff. And I think he showed her that video like, did you notice anything then? Was there any, like look at his body language. And it was like showing this back, like their wedding ceremony, and she was like, she couldn't look at it, and she started crying, and she was like, he looks happy though, doesn't he? Don't you think he looks happy? And that's how it ended. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, this woman still is not focusing on the fact that, what if he hadn't have died? Would they have tried to, like, would they have gone after him for trying to, like, kill the dog? I mean, what would have happened, you know? Like, she cared about him, and I get that, like, but this guy was so evil, and every single thing he did was a lie. You know, it was just that last word, that, like, last little thing was just so telling. So I'm using the Better Than Sex mascara, which I really love. Oh, and like I still have a little more to talk about with this whole Dirty John thing, but isn't that a crazy story? The Sephora sale is still going on, so this is something else I didn't mention. Did I mention that in my Rex? This Better Than Sex mascara, you guys, is so good. I picked up a few new mascaras during the Nordstrom mascara sale, which we'll talk about those soon too. But it was just such a crazy story. You know, and even when you think about the beginning, like after now you know what happened, when you think about how mom, the grandma, everybody was talking at the beginning, how could they have been talking about him with any kind of like pep in their voice. Like when they would talk, they'd be like, oh, he was charming, you know, and they'd be like giggling, and I'm like, are you joking? Like, I wouldn't even be able to talk about it. Things like this are so interesting. Like, I'd never even heard of this story. This is cute. It comes with a little tool to place the lashes. It's this little Lily lash set. Oh my gosh, I almost hate to use them. And I mean, all the things about like how you're married and you never notice a paycheck or you never check up on this guy. And it's not like things are sunshiny and you don't have a reason to. It's literally like your kids are telling you that this guy is crazy and you're still not checking up on him. You're not, you know, and then finally like your daughter makes, like I think Jacqueline is the one that made her really do everything. This is the thickest lash band I've ever felt, but it feels very like gummy and soft. So I hope that it'll be really, that it'll be okay. I'm gonna use this little House of Lashes glue that I had. Something that I found very disturbing, I mean, other than like everything else, I did not like how all of this happened. And in today's like world of online dating and all of this stuff, I mean, the story is a warning in itself. And maybe Deborah said these things, maybe the grandma said these things, I doubt it, maybe, you know, but I just feel like Deborah could have focused more on like, you know, saying, look at all these look at all these warning signs that I dealt with. Don't let this happen to you. Like, don't do what I did. I should have trimmed these. So yeah, don't do what I did. She never really even, I'm having such a hard time. I need to trim this. Y'all, I'm like real good and fast with lashes, and I'm a big eyeballed person and I never have to trim my lashes. This is just a really thick, crazy band. Okay, let me just see. I hope this still works. This is so bizarre, and it was very fascinating, maybe even more so because of that. Okay, y'all, I don't even know what is going on with my life and these eyelashes. Look at this eyelash. I mean, this is nuts, you guys. There's one that's like going a little crazy. Let me try again. I'm a quick eyelash person. Like, I don't have this kind of patience. Like, I've never had eyelashes that are this difficult, but if they're really cute, they'll be worth it. But it's just like, it's so easy for these things to happen. Like, I've known people personally that very similar things have happened to. Like, I have known situations that are honestly like eerily similar. A couple of situations that are eerily similar. Like something that happened years ago with someone that my grandparents knew. And then like my friend. I mean, it's terrifying. There is like glue on my face. Oh my gosh, this is not how I wanted this to work out. I'm not sure about these lashes, you guys. What is happening? These are not even, you want to talk about something scary? These eyelashes are scary. I'm gonna go get a regular ass pair of lashes. Okay. Now y'all know I have really big eyes. I have really long eyelashes. I can usually support some crazy eyelashes. Has anyone tried these with success? No, I ain't doing that. That's weird. Now that I've messed up my... God, I wanted to like those. You guys, we just keep it real. I'm gonna redo my eyeliner. I'm always like telling y'all, hey, false eyelashes are so easy. Try them. Then I show you something like that and you're like, ugh. No, I went and grabbed my Ardell Foam Ink, lightweight. I just don't understand why that band is so thick and gummy. But I thought it's gonna be okay because it's soft. My little eyelid would not even support it. Not even that. I don't even think that's why I had to trim them. They were just so thick. Easy as pie. They're very fluttery and dramatic, and I'll be honest with you, it's about as fluttery and dramatic as I want to go with my eyelashes. Really pretty though. I get what, like I keep saying this, like it was put out by the LA Times, I get it, like you can't, you know, when people even tell true stories like this one, and a lot of the things, a lot of the whole like framework of the story is absolutely true and correct. You know, like certain people can be kind of played to look different ways or whatever. And like I said, you know, they could have made the women look a little more like that. Like I was describing, like, I don't want to say accepting, but than they actually were. But that was true what happened in the 80s with them or the grandma, you know, like testifying on behalf of son. And they did talk about things that they said. I mean, they did actually, you know, they were talking on the podcast. It was things they were actually saying. But then I think, like, what was the point? Like, this guy is dead. Was it a warning? Because I get they're not going to tell the story and be like, all right, ladies, now be wary of men that you meet. Because I get it. It was playing out like everything. These are red flags. These are things that happen. I think people kind of take it for what it is. You don't need someone telling you to be careful. He attacked her daughter. Like, he almost killed her daughter. And why would you then come back and say, oh, doesn't he look happy? I'd be like, I don't want to see that. That you can burn that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. Like, he's a scumbag. It's just weird to me. I forgot we didn't use this. I think I was most excited about my Anastasia Glow. So the Starburst is the best one. Let's use this. Let's use this gumdrop color because it's very, like, pink and pretty. See, these are just gorgeous. They're just like this is almost like an opally pink color, this gumdrop. The whole thing, nuts to me. Isn't that beautiful? Ooh, gumdrop may be my new favorite. And then I'll use this marshmallow color. Like, oh, isn't that pretty? Oh, I keep saying, isn't that pretty? But it is. I don't know. I think it was a warning. I think it also was showing, like, you know, things can happen to anybody, whether you're super strong or whether that's not an excuse for someone treating you badly. But at the same time, be on your toes a little bit about this kind of stuff. And, you know, if someone says something's a little weird with someone, it might be. So, I don't know. You just have to be so careful. I wanted to show this too. This is the Clinique Uplighting Illuminating Powder. What I found this is really pretty for, so you can use the same kind of brush, like dust it over, but it's a very, like, soft glow. And you can, see, like, I could even build it up and use it like that. It's much softer, so you can use it like in like larger areas if you wanted to. It's just really nice. So that's it for that, the podcast, everything. I kind of wanted to, like, really think about specific things to talk about. I think I did it all. Like, I don't even know. Like, I tried. I know if you listen to it and you're like, oh, you left this out, you left that out. I'm sure I left a lot of stuff out, but I just kind of wanted to briefly go over it so that I could so we could talk about it a little bit. I will link to everything below. I'll link to everything that I'm wearing. I love this sweater, you guys. Okay, these are my favorite, you know, t-shirts. But this is a Free People sweater. And it's, you know, you can make it long sleeved or whatever. I would wear probably like a long sleeve top under this, but look how, like, just a kind of bummy and shapeless it is. No, but it's really cute. But I would put like a long sleeve shirt under it on like a really cold day. Like on a day like today when it's just a little cool, put on a short sleeved shirt with it and kind of bunch it up. And it almost has like a puffy, like, bell sleeved effect. Really cute. So love this. I think it comes in some different colors. Very comfortable, very easy to wear. I thought that was a really interesting podcast. It is 6 episodes. I know I kind of talked about it already, but if you wanted to listen to it, you could. And I did kind of warn you guys that I would be spoiling it when I did that video before. But let me know your thoughts. I mean, I know there was only so much you could take from it, I'm sure, but it's just something that for whatever reason, I just keep thinking about. And it's not because it's like, oh my gosh, this guy was such a con man. Obviously, that's what we're all taking from it, that this dude is nuts, okay? That's a given. The real, I think, story to tell behind this was the mentality and the attitude of Deborah's mom. No, like Deborah's mom's the real story. No, like her mom and it was just very weird. Like, I just want to get into their mind and be like, what were you, like, what was going through your mind? You know, what is going through your mind? And like, maybe they're just very, like, you know, they're not going to come out and get upset. I get it. That's just probably like they're soft spoken. I know people like that. Like, that's just how they are. You know, they're not going to come out and speak badly about somebody. I get it. It goes beyond that because things like Deborah said, like, oh, well, doesn't he look happy? And the mom testifying on it's just unthinkable for me. Oh, and I'm going to use this too. Y'all, this is so good. This Erin Rose, Garden Rose. I just want like everything to smell. This is something that you could take in your closet and like just spray all your clothes. I know someone's like, don't spray perfume on your clothes. I get it, whatever. I like to do it. Thank you guys for watching. Love you so much. And, oh, there was another, oh, not scary. there is kind of a creepy story that I wanted to tell. We should have done this like around Halloween because I feel like that was kind of a creepy story. But there's a really creepy story that's podcast related that I'm gonna tell soon. I might do that soon. I thought I might be able to combine that in with this, but no, that was just too much. Okay. And the lashes were scary. Everything was terrifying. So anyways, I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you so much. Bye, guys.